want to start a series where I essentially try to help with resources to help women doing full service sex work like myself transition from a broth or establishment or agency into working independently. There's going to be a lot to this, and I can't release every single video at once in order to, benefit with the algorithm of TikTok. So please be patient. I know some of it's going to seem very basic, some of it might be useful. There's just going to be everything I can think of slapped into this series. If you haven't seen me before, my name is Lilith Lodge. I've been working independently for just shy of 2 years now. I've toured all over Australia. I have toured to Singapore, and I've also worked in establishments. I've worked in one in Brisbane, and I've worked at one at the Gold Coast and one in Tamworth. This is by no means meant to encourage women who are not currently doing the work to start doing the work. This is intended to women working in those places I've listed. With that said, let's get into the actual information now. We've got it all laid out. We're going to start at the basics, okay? Your clients need to be able to contact you. So let's talk about that. Whether these are clients found through the advertising platforms that I'm going to do a separate video on, or they are your existing broth regulars that you've decided to sneaky steal, I'm not going to judge you. I don't care where you find them. Let's start with email because it's the easiest, free to set up. Set up a professional sounding email using your work name, not your personal name, and not something silly like Freddy Fish 2.0. Make it your work name at hotmail.com. Like mine is Lilith Lodge at hotmail.com. Totally free to set up. You'll need this on your ads because some people will choose to contact you via email. I very rarely get serious inquiries by email, but a lot of corporate men will choose this method, and it's free for you to set up. So that's what I want you to do as your first step. Now, the second thing obviously isn't free to set up. This is having a second phone with a second SIM that is going to be your work phone. The reason why we do not use our personal phones for work is due to trying to keep our identity safe and secret, and that's something that I'll go into a little bit later in this video. I understand that buying this second phone and setting up a SIM card for that is an expense, and I know not everyone right now is in a position to be able to do that. This is something that I want you to sort of save for, set aside, do an extra shift for. This is really important for your safety further down the line. Now, my work phone is actually my old phone. It was my shitty one before this current one, and I still had it laying around. I found it in a cupboard. I just slapped a case on it, and I went and got a SIM. Now, let's talk a little bit about the phone plans really briefly. Putting a SIM in your second phone is another expense, and not everyone is in a position to be able to afford $60 a month or whatever in order to have that phone operating. What I did when I started was I found a provider who it was a $300 per year, a yearly phone membership contract, SIM, whatever you'd call it, and that had unlimited talk and text and unlimited internet gigabytes, which you don't really need on the work phone. But that was the most financially efficient decision for me. The phone was free to me. I guess probably $100 to buy a secondhand phone in that sort of condition, and the SIM card. And this means that I'm able to separate work and private phone. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, oh, well, why don't you just use WhatsApp? And I want to touch on that a little bit. I have a WhatsApp set up, and I only allow clients to contact me that way if they are an international client, because they can't contact my personal work phone. And I get international clients because of my TikTok, because of my content. I've toured to Singapore, I needed it for that, etc., right? But if you are just working here in Australia, I don't recommend using WhatsApp for a few reasons. Firstly, the majority of people who will contact you that way are complete time wasters. But more importantly, and what I really want to enforce here, I wouldn't say enforce, draw attention to here, is that if something happens to you in a booking and it was all booked through WhatsApp, it's untraceable, okay? They're not going to be able to work out who did that to you as easily as if the booking was made through your phone number via SMS. This is because in Australia, all of your phone numbers are linked to a legal ID, right? So if you end up murdered, if you end up for heaven forbid, they will be able to work out who that person was and trace it all back with that SMS, that mobile number. WhatsApp doesn't allow that to happen. On the note of that, I wasn't planning to have that in this video, that's just come to my mind. A client of mine is in IT and has explained to me that I needed to turn my iMessage off in my settings on my work phone because he said that that is untraceable. Now, I haven't looked into this myself, however, I trust this man. I've seen him many times and I don't think he's bullshitting me on that, so I would also recommend you doing that. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, I feel overwhelmed by the amount of information I need to put in this video. I want to talk a little bit about your identity and how important it is to keep who you are a secret from these clients. Now, I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys that this is intended to be seen by, understand that, but it's often in my comments, you know, why can't you use your real name? This is because of stalkers. And I've had one firsthand who got hold of my information and harassed me, and it was horrific. And this is something that I want you guys to try to avoid. It doesn't hurt to come up with an alias, make it something that you're comfortable with. Over time, you get a lot more comfortable with these names. That said, if you are using your personal phone, you likely already have Pay ID and these things set up to your personal phone. I've definitely searched up workers' numbers before, and I've seen like old Facebook accounts. I've seen, you know, maybe a marketplace group or something with that number attached, and I can work out that worker's real name. You don't want to have this history attached to your phone, which you will if you use your personal phone. This is why you need a second phone. You need a work phone that is completely, you know, there is nothing on Google searchable under that number besides your full service ads. You don't want a client being able to type your number into Pay ID and seeing your full legal name. It's just not smart. I know some workers will use Pay ID as a payment method, and generally they'll make it so it's just like their first initial and showing their whole last name, especially if their last name is common. You know, I won't get into that too much, but essentially I'm advising that it is smartest to go and get a second phone in order to keep your identity secret. Also helps further down the track with work-life balance, having separate phones. If at some point you decide to leave the industry, you have a better chance of all of this being left behind you if you're using an alias as opposed to your real name, okay? So I think that's probably enough for this first video. I hope we have the phones and the contacting down packed, and I hope you guys understand the importance, good God, I can't speak, of using an alias.